Um, I don't look when we have sponsors on the show, they don't get anything. They just get a sponsor read. Thanks for your sponsorship and your money, and then that's it. But
We
I
don't invite them onto the show.
no, we never make them guests. Ugh. But Colin Pape, who's from this company Presearch.com, who our friend Kate turned us on to, Colin runs this cool search engine, and I've used it pretty much exclusively for 2 weeks, except when I forget. And it's pretty damn good. And I've got to ask so many questions that are going to be so tech and nerdy. So it's going to be crazy. And we have Natasha Nicholes, who's going to talk about farming. And this isn't your old granddaddy's farm. This is how do you farm in the city, and the kind of project with We Sow, We Grow, and digging in the dirt. Did I
Digging in the dirt? She's completed the Urban Farmer Master Gardener certification. I think you left that out.
I did totally leave that out. Wait, Urban Farmer Master Gardener certification.
Yep.
She's created StarCraft.
And created a nonprofit as well.
Now, let's all take a look at this and see if we recognize some people.
Welcome to the Backpack Show with your hosts, Chris Brogan and Kerry Gorgone. Boom shakalaka!
My big headphones made it into our logo.
Never noticed it until you said that.
Elizabeth says she likes Presearch too. Hi, Leslie.
Look
where is Kate?
I don't know where Kate is. I'm already panicking. So, I think we never plan who's going to go first. We just kind of feel it out.
As if I would argue with you about it.
But I think I'm going to grab Natasha first, which means, Colin, you've earned a few extra minutes if you need to, I don't know, pee more or get a cup of coffee.
Buys Kate some time to show up.
I'm going to grab us a Natasha Nicholes. We got to ask so many questions, too. Hello. Hey. Welcome to the show.
Hey there. Glad to be here.
That master's program sounds pretty damned intense, but what makes it different? Why is... I mean, there's a lot of challenges to urban farming, but what makes it different than can't you just go learn it on old McDonald's farm?
That makes no sense. Don't answer that. That's ridiculous.
No.
The difference is I think
and soil and stuff.
That's true. And I think the difference is just being certified within working in the city of Chicago. So I know how to work with the soil and the native plants and the native insects and all of that other stuff. But I'm still learning because we teach people all over the world. So I'm a forever student, and it's kind of cool and kind of exhausting, if I'm being honest.
So you learn through teaching. You just mentioned there that you teach people around the world and you learn more things while you're teaching others.
Yes, because of course, like any good teacher, you got to do your research and learn before you teach. And I think a lot of people think that gardening or farming is just kind of throwing seeds somewhere and then they come up. But a lot of things go into that, and a lot of science goes into it. And that's my background from college. I was a biology major, which doesn't line up fully with ag, but it helps me be able to kind of visualize things in a more abstract way than, just thinking that my seeds didn't sprout because there wasn't enough water or, enough dirt. And sometimes there may be other things that I have to do to be able to get a harvest.
I have like 8 billion questions. I guess the first one I want to know, though, is what makes you say, I think this is what I'm going to do? Like, it seems like there's and especially with biology, like you should, be off selling pharmaceuticals for way too much money for anybody to afford, or you should be doing some other, like, making poison or something that we're going to hear about 30 years after your work has been done. What made you say, I think I'm going to be really nice to people and teach them how they can take that crappy lot in between two buildings and turn it into food for their table?
So at the surface, I am not an extreme lover of people. So we'll start it that way. And this was a way for me to
from Boston, so
to be able to connect with my new community. My husband and I built a house from the ground up on the far south side of Chicago, coming from the west side of Chicago. And we didn't know anybody. So we moved to a neighborhood that we weren't familiar with at all. And I missed the camaraderie that we had from the old neighborhood. And I also miss, in general, society now. They're not lots of neighborhoods now where everybody can go into everybody's home, because everybody knows everybody and everybody trusts, their neighbors with their children and all of that other stuff. We've become a society that is very cynical and skeptical of each other. And we at least wanted people to be able to be comfortable to talk to us outside. And so we started what was supposed to be a community garden. And we got some volunteers in the very beginning, and this was 2016. And then people realized that it was work, and a lot of work, and that they had to tend to their raised beds. And it formed morphed into an educational farm. And that's where the nonprofit came from, and that's where the teaching came from, because it was just me sharing my gardening journey with everyone and growing my own food in the city of Chicago and showing people that it could be done. You didn't have to be in a rural area. And now we serve a couple thousand people, and it's intense sometimes, but that's the reason. I wanted to be able to talk to my neighbors and my community members without having to give too much of myself. And that was a way to do it, because at their core, people are nosy. So when you start altering, a spot of theirs and they're used to an empty lot, they want to know what you're doing with it, and they stop and talk, and then they get involved. And then the children who kind of ride their bikes around or, hang out with other children end up bringing their parents, because now their parents want to know the farmer that they keep talking about. And that's how we've been able to kind of expand our reach within the West Pullman community and beyond.
Kate asked where you moved from. Sorry to cover you up there for a second. Another part of the city, right? From one to the other.
So I moved from one side of Chicago to the next. And for those of you who are familiar with Chicago, I'll always be a West Sider. It's hard for me. It's hard for me to say that I'm a South Sider now, but I'll always be a West Sider. So I was about 7 minutes west of downtown Chicago.
No, I get it. I'm from Massachusetts, and I'm definitely North Shore, like not South Shore. And there is a difference.
Yes.
So Elizabeth says, as an apartment dweller, do you have ideas on how to approach doing a community garden in a complex?
Well, if you have space already in the complex, like if your complex is built in a square or a circle, or you have lots of land, raised beds would be the way to go. Honestly, instead of trying to plant in ground.
What's a raised bed?
A raised bed is typically lumber, and you build it into a square or a rectangle, typically 4 feet wide by however long you want. 4 feet is the perfect width for reaching into a bed and weeding or harvesting. If it's wider than that, it tends to get tough, and fun-sized people like myself will tip over into the bed, and you don't want to come back to the soil. But you want to do raised beds or containers. That would be a perfect way to do, and use things like trellises to grow up instead of out, and then that way you'll be able to fit more into that area. And you gauge interest. Know that sometimes starting a project like this may be very lonely for a while, and people will often fall off. But new people will come who have interest in gardening and help you, kind of motivate you through the season.
Kate says it's curious, not nosy. Agree to disagree.
Oh, it's in Chicago, it's nosiness.
So I used 2 different search engines to look up raised bed gardens, and one of them, when you click on the images page, is beautiful. When you look at that, that's, my goodness, you could tell a bunch of guys in Palo Alto did not design this thing.
And they can be as intricate as you want and as plain as you want. And some people go for beauty, and then some people just go for functionality, and it's always up to you.
Leslie says raised beds are great for gardening. I use both beds and containers. I prefer bunk beds, but you do you.
So do my children.
Now, a lot of urban farming, and I don't know if you use that moniker, and that's, I guess, do you talk about urban farming, or do you just talk about you farm in the middle of places? It
depends. I don't often call myself a homesteader, even though I probably fit into that category very well. From sowing to canning and pickling and preserving and
And dark and stormy
Homeschooling, yeah,
making.
homeschooling. I do make dark and stormies, and then farming and raising chickens. So I probably fit in that. It's just one of those monikers that doesn't. It just never stuck with me. Urban farmer only. I use it to let people know that I'm in a large city, but my children and the neighborhood kids refer to me as a farmer. They don't use urban. I am the farmer.
Just the farmer.
What is your most successful plentiful crop?
Oh gosh, we will always have zucchini, and I think anybody who grows zucchini can relate. Corn does very well, and so do tomatoes. As with anything vining, last season we had way more butternut squash than we knew what to do with, and we also grew garlic and ended up having to sell a lot of it because hardneck garlic does not store for a very long time, so we had to sell it.
I
Which
feel
is
like
fine.
that's like people had so much zucchini. That's how that we have like zucchini cake and weird stuff because they're like, oh, you
Yeah.
some of all zucchini.
And let's add sugar to it. It's weird to
Pretty much
have.
anything so you don't taste the zucchini is probably
But zucchini's really good.
sure. But I mean, if they were sick of it, probably
yes,
usually
that
they were
is.
like,
My mom banned me the first year that we grew from giving her any more zucchini.
That's why I laughed the first time you said it, because if you've ever been a neighbor to a zucchini farmer
Oh
of
my
any
gosh.
kind, you start putting little signs on your door like, please don't.
It is so much. And if it rains and you've gone to check your zucchini plant, and you check and make sure that nothing's there, if it rains a lot and then you go out the next day, I swear they go to like 3 feet long, and you're just like, this wasn't here yesterday. It's a really prolific vegetable.
Leslie
fruit,
says that
depending
the
on-
joke in the summer where she is if you leave your car unlocked, you'll find zucchini in the back seat.
That's the truth of it. No, so I had a question about the concept of urban farmer and all that, because there's a lot tied to that. There's a lot of social cause justification and conversation around that, because a lot of times when people mention that, there's people who are setting up all these various projects. Detroit comes to mind. The city of Detroit, especially when they had that incredible retraction, where so few people suddenly lived on land where you might be the only one of 2 houses on a block anymore.
Right.
What happened is just this a lot of reclamation, but also trying to fix food drought problems, where like bodegas or whatever your city's version was the thing that you're kind of trying to offset. But that doesn't sound like anything in this project. And I was just curious if that's intentional, or if that, it's, you just did this because this is what you do.
It was intentional. A lot of times what happens is urban farms and community gardens tend to be trendy. And because they identify as all organic, which you can't be certified organic unless you get that certification, and it takes a lot of work to get that certification, then they charge people through the nose to buy the produce from them. And it becomes kind of classist in nature. And we wanted to be a source within the city where if you wanted it and you were hungry and you made it to our farm, then, whether you could make a donation or not, you were going to get food. And a lot of times what we do is we exchange volunteer work for produce. So if you come and volunteer, you may not have the money, but you can harvest whatever we have readily available. And then the other way we do that is we start a base price, so a suggested donation. And if you can't quite make it, but you really wanted something, we'll work with you. We wanted to take the idea that food only, fresh grown food only belonged to certain people out of the equation, and I see that going heavily in larger cities, because urban farming, that's sexy. You hear of our urban farmer and you automatically think, oh, they're amazing because they're growing in this small space. It's a lot of work. It's hard work. And, a lot of people who have these gorgeous urban farms in the city of Chicago also have a buttload of money, and they don't need resources from outside. We're doing this in addition to our full-time jobs. So that's why we started the nonprofit, to accept donations, and, we're applying for grants and all of that other stuff, because we know that this is something that is very, very needed in the city, no matter what side you live on. Because I know that in the news, people hear Chicago and they hear West Side and South Side and think dangerous and everything. That doesn't matter at all. It's everybody deserves to eat. If you are walking around and you're hungry, you deserve to eat. And that even comes in the midst of a lot of farm theft, which happens because we're not fenced in. We're currently on land that we are using or borrowing from the city, and we're looking for a headquarters, a building to be headquartered in, and we're looking for our own land so we can have a set space for people to come to and learn, whether in person or online. We want to be able to have teachers come to a set space.
Kate had a question about that. Do you hold offline classes in your neighborhood, like in real life person?
Yes,
like
on
in
the farm. Yeah,
Yeah.
people come to the farm often to learn, and we often have people who will come to us with a plant that isn't making it at all, and they'll ask us to kind of do a clinic for them to see what's wrong. And now we have almost everybody on our block is either growing in their backyard or they come to us for food, which is pretty awesome to think about, because in 2016, when we first started, we didn't have that much interaction at all.
Becca is looking for recommendations for keeping community gardens less classist. She says, I run 2 for my city and would like to be more inclusive. We do provide scholarships and team up with Spanish interpreters.
That would be getting more involved in networking, which is also something that I'm not very good at. And this year was a year that I just kind of immersed myself and threw pride to the wind. It's very, very hard finding, avenues to get to the people that most need it. And a lot of that is asking online and joining groups and kind of being the loud person in the group, and finding, your local community garden association within your city, and they should often connect you as well. So we have the Chicago Community Garden Association, and that's the CCGA. Here in Chicago. And we also have advocates for urban agriculture here in Chicago. And sometimes even if you tweet them, they are connected to other gardening groups or urban farms in other cities, and they can connect you the way that you may need to be connected. Because sometimes our networks or our Facebook groups or our Twitter feeds are silos, and all the people very much look like us or very much think like us, or, have the same social standards. And we do need to meet new people, because food doesn't care who's eating it, right? And nobody cares who's eating food, so everybody needs to, and you need to connect with everybody. It makes it richer, a lot richer.
Chris and I are connected to all marketing turd heads, is what he would tell you. Kate wants to know how we can help, and I think she speaks for everyone listening.
Okay, so we are currently taking donations, both on our website. You click the donate button on WeSowWeGrow.org, or you can start a fundraiser of your own on Facebook or Instagram. If you take a screenshot of this, you can circle my face and let them know that I'm the executive director. For your birthday, when Facebook or Instagram allows you or suggests that you find a nonprofit or something to support, We Sow We Grow is verified. We are a 501c3, and we take every single dollar that is donated to us and we put it back in the farm. And currently, we're now raising money to get our own digs. And I'm super excited because we have a building in mind. I don't say it out loud because I feel like there's a developer always within a group that I'm talking to about it. And they will come in and sweep it up from underneath.
Totally.
But this building would fit the mission of We Sow We Grow, and it would be fun to learn in. And I think that everybody who would come to visit, whether it's to learn or to purchase anything that we have for sale, because we're looking to get things like local honey, and seed packets and all of those things. And then our Dirty by Nature gear. You may have seen my son and I in the photo that they pulled up. Dirty by Nature gear on hand to purchase. And I think, like, I keep thinking about it and dreaming about it and getting super excited, and my heart kind beats faster, and then I feel like I have to vomit. So we know it's a good idea. from that. We know it's a good idea, but you can support in any of those ways. We also are, I can list in the comment section our business mailing address. And if you are still a check writer, you can mail it there, and it's protected because it's a UPS store, and they'll put it right there in the mailbox, and we go and pick it up and, deposit it. But those are the ways that you can support us, and you can share us on your social media networks, and you can share our site, and you can let everybody else know that we are a tiny educational farm in Chicago trying to change the world. We grow gardeners is what we say. And we want to make sure that we grow gardeners everywhere because it's important.
All right, I have two things. One, I was going to ask you who the handsome gentleman was. I figured it had to be a professional model because he's a good-looking gentleman. So he better be as smart and as good as he is good-looking, though.
That is my son, who, believe it or not, will be 21 in 2 weeks. And wow. I'm slightly sad about it because I don't know how he can be turning 21, and I was 21 2 years ago. Don't know.
Exactly right.
Yeah.
How'd that even happen? And then I have one last question. Then I'm gonna put you backstage for a bit so we can talk to Colin, and we'll bring you back for a panel. Farmers gardeners, is that like Jets and the Sharks? Like, is that a fight we have, or can I say either?
Oh gosh, I'm actually right smack dab in the middle of urban farmers and rural farmers. I don't have an issue with gardeners at all. They don't have, and gardeners tend to see me as a farmer because of the amount of land that I am working with. So we have about a 1/4 acre, and we're producing food for way more people than just our family. So that sticks, but I've had some tough conversations on Twitter about calling myself an urban farmer, and I was called elitist. I'm like, it literally just says where I'm farming. That's it. That's all. That's all it says. I'm not, I don't think I'm better than any other farmer.
I mean, you're not telling people they have to put their pumpkins on layaway, like you're
actually come and take the pumpkins. Come and take the zucchini too, and the tomatoes.
The farmers and the gardeners can be friends.
Absolutely.
Natasha Nicholes, stick around. We'll ask you some more questions in just a little bit. Glad to. Thank you. Wow, 21. What a
thanks to Janice Person. JP Loves Cotton for sending Natasha our way.
That is true. Hey, let's do some ad reads. This is weird. Okay. Well, I'm not doing that one because that guy's on the show today. That's weird. But it's because there's so much to ask him. I mean, just now I said I want to look up garden beds. And I clicked on the question and I asked a certain search engine, rhymes with schmooshmal. And it was like, not bad. But then his was like luscious and beautiful. And it looked like real pictures. So anyway, we're sponsored by them. Thanks, Presearch. So love what we talk about and the nice people we get to cover, but you think we're not attractive? You can just listen to the audio podcast. That's sponsored by Castos. They have a beautiful hosting site, much more attractive.
You don't want to look at our ugly mugs.
Exactly.
You can listen to the podcast everywhere, hosted by Castos.com.
Hey, once you're on domain called, I'm going to call it My Urban Farm and You Shut Up online. You can get a .online domain for $1.
How about pumpkins on layaway.online?
I like that. Use the code Chris, all caps, at cbrogan.me/online. Buy you one of those. That's going to be great. Hey, speaking of farms, we're sponsored by StreamYard. StreamYard's the show that you can make a show just like this one. It's pretty swell. Hey, Jeff Pulver has classes. You could go to Pulver EDU if you want to get back to school. You can pay with Jeff Coins. It's a cryptocurrency project. Boy, we're going to talk about crypto as well in a minute because that's what all the cool kids do.
Yeah.
Pulveredu.com.
Today is a good day to use Jeff Coins to buy a class. We'll just say that.
Good Lordy, you're going to save some money. Thanks, Elon. All right. So we're going to grab our man, Colin Pape. Again, listen, when you sponsor...
Oh, he's Canadian. So all our Canadians out there...
When you sponsor this show, you get no rights other than I read a thing like that. You can't even tell me what to read on the thing. I just do it. But we did this because Kate did it, then Colin did it, then I think Kate did it. Like they're like our sponsors for the next 6 years at this point. But but then I started using Presearch because I was like, well, I ought to try this Presearch thing out. It works. It's a search engine. So if you ever kind of get that feeling,
it's the first thing you search for.
Darn you! My own name. Actually, let me show you that, and I'm going to bring Colin out while we do it. Hang on.
Okay.
Presearch.com. Actually, let me do
I mean,
this.
that would probably be everybody's like first search.
Yeah,
not
of course
your
you
name,
search
their
yourself
name.
first, and then Olivia Munn. What's the third one? So, hey, Colin.
You're gonna make me do it, aren't you?
No, don't do it.
I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it.
Boom shakalaka! Yellow card, Brogan. And Brogan is going down like a bag of hammers tonight.
Yep, that's what's up.
So Colin, who made this thing, I go to Presearch.com. I type in my name with quotes around it because I want to be nice. Look at me. Looks pretty good. Looks pretty good.
Are you
I'm an
saying
American
you look
author.
pretty good?
Well, the site looks good. And then it says people also search for Jay Bear, Seth Godin, some other guy, Ann Hanley, and Brian Solis.
Wow.
Gary Vaynerchuk in the only suit he's ever worn. Colin, okay, there are those who would call you insane for wanting to make a search engine. I think there's a company or two who's done that one. What the hell? Like, why? Like, let's start there.
You did not just say what the hell.
Why did you start? Like, you might as well.
He's Canadian. You've got to be nice.
Make a spaceship or something too. Why a search engine? There's easier ways to make money.
Absolutely. I mean, I think for me comes down to the internet being this amazing kind of open resource and community that we all can create with and kind of connect with, and seeing that Google basically dominates 92% of all searches, and also have the #1 video platform with YouTube, and the #1 mapping platform, the #1 email platform, #1 mobile operating system. The list kind of goes on, and they've got a lot of market power, and kind of experienced in 2011 the wrong side of that marketing power when they penalized our sites and moved them on to page 8, even if you search for them by brand name, and kind of got into this, spat with them, and then an FTC investigation and all these things, and realized that thousands and thousands of different businesses and, content producers had similar experiences, and some of them weren't as lucky as we were, where we actually got it resolved. And it just kind of made me think that there needs to be a more kind of ground up, community driven, grassroots search engine that can be more of like a utility that works for the people, not just really for this kind of group of people in Mountain View, California, and, the Google venture capitalists and the investors. So yeah, that was kind of the genesis. But yeah, you're right. It's crazy.
I've got friends who have been hit at different times. Right in 2009, when my book came out, was when Penguin and Panda hit roughly in the same time frame. And so I got put onto a lot of stages because suddenly content was important and trust was important. And it wasn't enough just to know some keywords. So have you been in that space? Have you been kind of in the search engine space since that far back? And were you doing SEO work before you decided to make this engine?
So yeah, we've been in kind of the local business marketing space for about 20 years. I have another company called shopcity.com. So it's kind of like an online marketing platform for each community. Each community gets its own domain name. We bought like 8,000 domain names 20 years ago. So we have shopnewyork.com, shopboston.com, shopjustabouteverywhere.com. And then we basically have like a franchise-like program where a local person, buys the rights to the platform, and then they do the sales and the marketing. And so, yeah, have kind of always been in that local business discovery kind of space. And, we always approach search engine optimization just exactly how Google positioned it, which is don't even think of search engine optimization, just think about how you create value for a user. And in the process of doing that, you will naturally get organic search engine exposure. And so we've done search engine optimization, but never actually really optimizing to try to game the system, which is what was so ironic about it. But what was weird was kind of as this was happening about a month earlier, we that platform, we partner with local city governments and chambers of commerce and newspaper publishers. And we had just, partnered with the city of Mountain View, California, and the Mountain View Chamber of Commerce and the local newspaper publisher, the Mountain View Voice, to run shopmountainview.com. And about a month earlier, Google launched this program called Get Your City Online, which was very similar. And then like July 14th, 2011, we wake up and we're like, oh, weird, there's like an 80% drop in traffic. I wonder why. And start kind of combing through things and then realize, oh, weird, if you search for Shop Mountain View or shopmountainview.com, it's on page 8, as is all of the other things. And kind of in the process realized that they had applied, that the first time they ever admitted it, a manual penalty. So it was not just algorithmic. Wow. It wasn't like a rejig, like the penguin and panda stuff that kind of like blanket hits everybody. This was like a reviewer came in and basically was like, yeah, I don't like that you're using all these different domain names. You should be using one domain name. And so they just penalized them. So
Smited you.
Smited us. It
I don't know.
Felt kind of weird.
Yeah. So I have other friends. Saul Orwell comes to mind. He owns examine.com. So, and it's funny, like I totally know him. A lot of people wouldn't, but in your space, everyone knows everybody, and domain people are that.
Yep.
But I was going to say, he contacted me so mad because all of a sudden he and like 3 other people I know who are in one way or another in health businesses suddenly got knocked back a bunch of pages. And wouldn't you know it, Google suddenly came out selling very similar kind of products again. So I'm not worried that someone's going to sue me for saying that because it's pretty documented at this point. But I feel like, so you that happened to you and you said, I'm going to make a search engine that spits out coins or something. We'll have to talk about that in a minute.
Pretty much.
But nobody does that, Colin. They just complain and then they just keep Googling.
Yeah, right? They just get butthurt and not do anything.
They just keep doing stuff. What made you like, darn it, this is what we've got to do. This is going to be my hill to die on. And then I'm going to make a search engine because why wouldn't I? What made you do that?
I guess, when you get put in that position and you just realize like how reliant you are on something and how kind of dominated you are. I mean, in the line of work that we do and in the, there's like 75,000 businesses on the Shop City platform. Well, that happened, like our entire town for like 2 months was offline. Like all the local businesses could not be found because they were all powered by our platform. And honestly, it just really rubbed me the wrong way. And came up with the concept for Presearch in about 2014, and just thought of, wouldn't it be cool if there was like a Switzerland of search where you could access all these different search engines kind of easily. You could click on a logo and then direct your query into whichever search engine, because there are thousands of different search engines. I mean, there's a dozen or dozens maybe of general search engines, but all these different resources that people might not think of as search engines are effectively search engines. And they all kind of live within Google, and they kind of get subsumed within Google's kind of like, vanilla search results that just everybody gets the same. And so came up with the concept, introduced it to, friends and family and team members, and it ended up being pretty sticky. A lot of people really liked the interface. It saved time. Instead of having to like bookmark things and then go in and then run a search, you kind of have this federated search field. So you can just, type your query, choose wherever you want to direct it. And it was like a huge time saver. And so thought, hey, this could be really cool. But at the same time, it is hard. It's a huge challenge. We realized, we're up against this really, 800-pound gorilla that just dominates and has every resource available. So didn't really see a go-to-market strategy that would, take off. Also, at that time, not as many people were aware and kind of upset about the dominance of big tech. And in 2017, became acquainted with something called Ethereum, which is a blockchain protocol that you guys are probably familiar with. But it's a way that you can basically build a cryptocurrency on top of a layer. You don't have to build out all the infrastructure and stuff, and realized, oh, wow, we could incentivize people with tokens, spit out coins, as you said so eloquently.
He's nothing if not eloquent, Colin.
That's right.
Yeah.
And thought, hey, this could work. And it has. We're about 2 million registered users, more than 1 million searches a day. And we've got an awesome team, and we've built our first node powered decentralized search engine, which means it's, people can basically install software on their computer, and then we can access their computing resources. And rather than have these massive centralized data centers like Google does, we can kind of distribute that load across many thousands of people. So
Elizabeth was asking if you're doing ads. She saw that space was available for one when we saw Chris's search.
Yeah, there's an ad platform. That's kind of another thing. I mean, having spent, probably over $1 million myself and multiple millions on behalf of clients on Google AdWords, you realize how much money is getting funneled into Mountain View, California, and how ultimately they're kind of, leveraging like their user base almost against themselves. It's kind of weird. And so we came up with a concept called keyword staking. And so with cryptocurrency, you don't necessarily have to like spend it to create demand for it. And so you can do something called staking it, which means you buy it, you own it, you control it, you can do kind of whatever you want with it, but you can lock it against a keyword. So if I wanted, and I was thinking as Natasha was talking, we should keyword stake on her behalf, urban farming and some of the other associated words, and probably some of our community members, now that they're hearing this, will probably do it, which is awesome. But you can basically go in there, you can lock your Presearch tokens against a term, and then whoever has the most tokens locked against while they have the most gets their ad displayed. So there's no actual cost when somebody clicks on it. So it kind of like aligns the users, because you're creating demand for the tokens as, an advertiser buying them. And then those are being, there we go, Mark. Awesome. Shout out to Mark and Kate, our two amazing community members and moderators and just hugest promoters and domainers.
Yes.
But yeah, so it doesn't really like take advantage of people. You get kind of your advocates who are like helping you build out your network, and then you kind of go and turn around and like charge them, the most money possible to advertise on the platform. It just doesn't seem awesome. So this is a bit of a different model. Because
down the street, you've got Mark Zuckerberg doing the same thing. So much so that Kerry and I pulled 2 or 3 of the different Backpack Show channels off. We're just like, this isn't worth it. Like, he's not going to show us the group that we bothered asking people to join. So we stopped. So keyword staking, if I understood what you just said, if I spend, let's just make pretend money and all that, but I spend like 100 Presearch coins to own, I don't know, nostril sandwiches. Someone else can come and spend 200 coins to buy nostril sandwiches, and they don't give you the coins, is what you're saying. You're saying the holder of 200 coins gets to pick the keyword. So you're even saying, like, let this thing ride. It's on Ethereum. You can keep this money. I just want you to show me that you're so invested in this Presearch that you're just going to hold it, is what you're saying.
Exactly. It's showing support.
So smart.
It's a pretty cool model, and people like it. I mean, it's working out really well for the people that are doing it. And it just, the difference, I think, with a project like Presearch versus a Google, it's just about trying to, align people. So, in a Google model, you've got the founders who are, the biggest shareholders, and then you've got, probably some team members that have equity, and then they bring in a venture capitalist, and then, that VC puts in the money, but now their incentive is, how do we get an exit for our money where we can get 100x on our capital? And then that involves either, going public or an acquisition generally, because nobody in tech pays out dividends for whatever reason. And so then you kind of have this like misalignment. So if it's, driving revenue to bolster a share price, then it's about, how do I extract as much value as possible out of the users and out of the advertisers? And, with this type of model, it's basically, we did a token sale. So we created our Ethereum token called Pre, and then we basically sold it to our people in the community who support the vision of what we're doing, very similar to like a Kickstarter, basically. And so you end up with, now your tokens that you can use in the ecosystem. And so everybody's still aligned. So, the founders and the team are not aligned around equity. We're aligned around token. Users are aligned around token because we're compensating them for, their usage and their attention, basically. Advertisers are paying in the pre-token, so they're aligned as well. And so you just end up with everybody kind of rowing in the same direction instead of these different groups that are all kind of pulling in different directions that it might not be apparent at first, kind of the impact. But then as time goes, you start realizing, oh, wow, these people are completely not in alignment with us. And it ends up, at some point, like what is happening now, becoming just so obvious that people start getting upset. So
what countries have the most use?
Oh, sorry.
This is outside of America, but also Canada, right? Because that's where you are. So,
absolutely. You know what? It's pretty popular in Central America and South America as well. It's the countries that basically have had issues with their government-issued currencies. So you can think of Venezuela, Argentina, but also Colombia, Mexico. Where they've basically become the early adopters of cryptocurrency. And in a lot of cases, they're actually using it to spend, to buy the things that they need. And so they are adopting a lot of platforms like Presearch, where they can basically kind of shift their usage patterns of an app, get rewarded in return, and then utilize that currency to actually support the things that they need to purchase.
I have 8 million more questions. I think we're gonna have to have a little private call because there's so many things keep coming up the more I think about it.
He's just mad that I staked Chris Brogan as a keyword.
Staker. I've got a whole. Well, there's a first question. Can I buy these coins now that you've already done that sale? Is there a exchange somewhere or something?
Yeah, you can buy them if you just go to presearch.io. On there's in the bottom in the links. Link that'll tell you where you can purchase them. But yeah, you can buy them on KuCoin is an exchange that's kind of the biggest one that carries them. There's a bunch of these decentralized exchanges.
Okay.
Uniswap is where they're listed, or you can buy them at marketplace.presearch.org. Okay.
Very cool. Sorry, I'm writing myself a note right now. That's good. All right. So I want to ask so many questions. Okay, look, I'll calm down and I'll just ask one last thing, and then I'm going to grab Natasha back. But rather, I just want to make a quick comment because here's what I want to. One thing you said, and you said it as if everyone knows what you meant, but if you go to presearch. Why does it say org? That's interesting.
It started as org, and we actually just bought .com from a multi-billion-dollar U.S. defense contractor called SAIC. Thanks to Mark Dalton, who was listening on the show. Mark somehow figured out how to get these people to actually reply to us. We had tried for a couple of years. Mark cracked the nut and got them to sell it to us. So
okay, thank you for that. That's a story I was never expecting. So what you're saying is that I can use Google, I can use DuckDuckGo, I can use Etherscan if I want to do coin stuff. There's even Twitter. I can even cook one, which is one of the first things I did on mine was I tried to throw the Crunchbase search into it, but I'm evidently not smart, so you might have to walk me through that. Okay. Not right now. But
that's a good one.
What I like is that it lets me cook this thing the way I want it. The staking thing means that I can make this my search thing instead of anybody's search thing. And as I was thinking about it, I was thinking, oh my gosh, the people that want to feel a certain way about this kind of technology, who are also interested in things like blockchain, who are DAO, we won't even get into that. But as people are starting to feel more and more grumpy about some of the big tech, here's this, Canadian, everyone loves Canada, you can't be mean to Canada. It's just a comment, but it's just that there's more, you need to make more things now. Like now that we have all these things, we need to have, our chat board or something instead of just, maybe Discord's fine, but this many holders get to be in this Discord group, that kind of a thing. Just seems like there's a lot of places to go with this, Colin. So I'm excited. Thank you for coming on. And like I said, anyone else who's ever sponsored the show, don't ask. You can't come on. But thank you, Colin. I really appreciate it.
And thanks to Kate. Honestly, Kate has been our number one advocate. She has connected us with so many amazing people, and we love Kate so much. And I love that she's a huge part of your audience, and I know she really follows very closely with you guys.
As a member of the community, we have the privilege to serve.
Yeah.
So I'm grabbing back our Natasha as well. Look at this, Natasha. You're fighting the man. He's fighting the man. Everybody has their plans. This is crazy town.
It's like the Avengers.
Yes, it is. Wakanda forever. Rest in peace, that nice man, Chadwick Boseman.
Becca said, thankful for you, Natasha, all the way from Oregon.
All the way from
thank you.
Oregon. And I feel like asking I am she 6 what we should call her, because that's a weird ass name to say out loud to somebody. But
Don't say that. She chose that username. She likes
well,
it. Don't
maybe
say it's
her name's
weird.
like Jennifer.
I
and
do
Kate
not
says,
think so.
I hear you could refer others to Presearch and earn. Oh, I have done everything wrong. Like I forgot to even register an account. I've just been.
You've just been using it for weeks and you have no tokens to show for it?
I could be rich right now.
Oh, I'm going to eat your lunch. I'm going to stake the hell out of your keywords just for that. You deserve it. You deserve it.
So
There was another question that came in right as we were transitioning, Natasha, from Leslie. Do you partner with schools to either teach them how to do their own gardens or provide fresh vegetables? And I wanted to ask because Colin actually homeschools his kids as well. So I thought this would be good information for all of us.
So that was something that was in the works for the beginning of last season. So we started a conversation in 2019, and then as we know, the pandemic hit. So the Park District of Chicago and a couple of the public schools and high schools and private schools within our community are on our list. And we're also partnering with the Friends of the Forest Preserves. So they'll be coming out as well this season. So yeah, we will. We're open to it. If you have a connect and, you want me to talk to them, I'm game.
Excellent. Now, this is something you'd be interested in, Colin.
Absolutely. Yeah, super cool what Natasha's up to. Definitely support local food and trying to ultimately keep everything as local as possible. I mean, that's kind of the way that we build a resilient economy that isn't dominated by these, corporate interests and people that really don't care about our communities. It is about trying to keep it local, and it's amazing what she's doing. Super, super important. And yeah, if you've homeschooled your son, we're only 8 years in, not 21. So
Oh God, no, he wasn't homeschooled.
we got lots to learn.
No, he wasn't.
He wasn't homeschooled. I homeschool the bottom three, as I call them, and everybody's like, "You have a top three?" No, I only have 4 children.
He's number one, and then there's the other ones.
Gotcha.
He was 3 on his own. No, just the bottom 3, and we're going. They're not very keen on things like they used to be, though.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm pretty sure you understand that too.
Yeah.
Kate says she sent you a referral link, Chris, but you just got started with that one. Why do people send you things? They should know better. Like, just send it to me, Kate, obviously.
look, I didn't even know my own password. According to this, it says I have an account already. So what do I know? I just said I sent you an email, idiot. I'm like, I don't know. Like, I can't log into anything. So that's me in Presearch. At
Need
least I
adult
understand
supervision.
zucchinis and tomatoes and stuff like that.
Marginally better than we did 40
All
minutes
right.
ago.
So with homeschooling, I'm trying to think of, I'm going to get yellow carded or something. There's 2 types of homeschoolers. There's ones that like, it's like a religious reason.
I'm
And
not
like
that one.
I need to keep my kid away from everything. And then the other one's like because school sucks and like you really have to make it better than it is. And you've just
Or
given up.
number
because you tried to
3,
do
I don't
this
want my
stuff.
kid to die of COVID.
Oh well, that's a whole other thing. I mean, we're all homeschoolers now.
Right.
But listen, what made you make that choice? That's like the kind of guy who starts a search engine.
Chicago schools got really, really political, and they were no longer, learning wasn't fun, and it became very business focused and not child focused. And my oldest child had some of the best teachers. I know that I loved school. I'm one of the weirdos that loved school. I hated missing school growing up. But when you see kids, they are upset. They are bored. They're not being challenged at all. I figured we do it here in the house, and we can go places and take trips to places that we're learning about. And it keeps my kids genuinely curious. And I think that the more curious children are, the better that they are. And I don't need the religious aspect. I'm married to a minister, so I mean, we get sermons. We get sermons, whether we want them or not.
And you're like, Dad, this is a Wendy's.
and sometimes, and I say this understanding that it may ruffle some feathers. Sometimes people take the religious aspect of it and pour that on instead of the fun of school, and not understanding that at some point in time their children are going to have to interact with folks within in the world, and it's not a good deal to only raise them a certain way without an entire worldview. And you can still, keep your standards and all of that other stuff, but it's really important to have a worldview.
You can't cloister them. Yeah.
No, because God knows I do not want my adult children living with me. I don't. And I know that they wouldn't want to live with me at all. And that's the only way that you'll be able, like, you'd have to build a compound in order to protect people from the world. And,
other people.
That's not fun. My husband and I want to walk around our house the way we want to walk around our house after the last child is gone. And you can take that and run with it if you want to. I mean exactly that.
Good.
I mean exactly what you're thinking right now. And that's the reason.
I didn't grow up in a naked house, but you do you.
Well, we're not one. We want to turn into one after our children leave.
The whole House of Nicholes got a whole lot more interest in a couple of years.
Yeah. So it's we enjoy it a lot.
Thank you. Colin, was your reason similar-ish?
Yeah, it was. I mean, we thought, I think we thought, hey, we could probably do a pretty good job because, I mean, we know our kid and we love our kid and we want to really nurture our child and, kind of provide different experiences. But yeah, we also wanted more flexibility. And I work remotely. My wife is, a stay-at-home mother. And
you just needed more coders at Presearch?
Well, you know what? Yeah, he's interested.
Probably gonna be a good one.
Yeah, it would be. I mean, honestly, it doesn't matter to me what he ends up doing, and I don't know that this would be. But yeah, he's got an interest in it. But up until COVID, we were traveling a lot, and we would travel a lot as a family. I was going to conferences, speaking, and business meetings, and then they would come. We lived in California for 6 months when he was 2 to 2.5. It was awesome, and that kind of gave us the flexibility to do that. And then we just wanted to, I think, introduce him to more life experiences. So, from a young age, he became comfortable talking to adults and, kind of thinking independently and doing things, that were of interest to him, not just things that we kind of, wanted downloaded into him, and we were also able to appeal to his interests. So obviously math and reading are kind of the cores of education, but we did he was in the Star Wars phase, for instance, and was really into Star Wars. My wife found all these amazing workbooks that were all Star Wars. So as he was learning, he was doing it around subjects that were of genuine interest to him. And it wasn't just like this one size fits all kind of approach. And I mean, honestly, I think it's probably the thing that we're most proud of is that we've, spent 8 years with our child. We've got some amazing quality time with him. And then just to see him and see how proud he is and actually get to experience it with him and not just like secondhand him coming home, oh yeah, something at school. And I mean, my wife is amazing at, with his education. I mean, I'm involved as well, but she drives it and she's been the one doing the research and finding all the resources. And it's I don't know, it's really awesome. So
I'm here for it. I got locked out of Presearch.com by too many password attempts. So I guess 3 is too many. That's what I just learned on Presearch.
What? I only tried it like 10 times on your behalf. I don't know what
maybe that's the thing. So
I'll
just FYI.
I'll help you reset that.
Grouchy.
All right, let me hit a button.
Oh, and here's our person of the day. Kaboom!
There's a lot of
Who's it gonna
opportunities for person of the
be?
day. I had a lot of people that I wanted to make it, but I was going to go back to our friend from Oregon. I was going to give it to Gabby just because she gave us her name. But I liked Becca's stuff because it was for Natasha. It was about, how do we keep it from being classist and all that. I really liked that. I thought that was a really smart question, really added to the show. So you're a person of the day. That means you can get your own farm-grown apple. All you got to do is go to a store and buy it and then clean it up. And then you can
Wash it really good. What you do is you put it on layaway at the We Sow We Grow and then come back for it like in a couple of days when you can pay for it.
Farm layaways.
The chickens will eat it.
Chickens will eat it.
I was born and raised in around Augusta, Maine, and one of the things that happened was there was a community farm plot. So it was out by where the Little League field is, where I got to embarrass myself for 1.5 seasons, being a right fielder, which I never knew in baseball terms meant can't play, but he's cute. And so I went out there and I learned on community farms. There's evidently a French Canadian word for zucchini. And I know Natasha says she doesn't cuss in her house, but let me just tell you what the word is for zucchini. You know what? We forgot to ask you a really important question. So we're not going to end the show yet. This is we've never done this one before. How's this for an ending, folks? I wonder how many people hung up like Dad Loves Dogs.
I was smelling the grandma story coming, but I was like, no.
Here's the question. What goes in your backpack? This could be something physical. It could be something metaphorical. It could be something like an avocado. Or it could be something like hope in the future. Or evidently, memory. This is the best episode ever because we ended it and we're still on it. And then wait till you see how I end it next. Natasha Nicholes, what goes in your backpack?
Oh gosh, laughter is one of them. It's very, very important to get through anything. If you can laugh through it, you're gravy. Patience is another, and a large canteen of water because you can exist on water without food.
You need that water.
How about a co-host, Chris, to remind you when you forget things?
Colin,
glad you have one now.
Your backpack, sir.
My backpack is going to be a lot of people. So my family, because they support these crazy ventures and all the things that are associated with them, and our community, specifically the Presearch community, they've been amazing. And our team, because they're the ones that are building the things that are making this vision come to life. So definitely lots of awesome people.
Your son who's got a code
people.
for you.
Yeah.
Look at you loving people. And
oh, not the first guest